UK and by American attackers on Monday. So the Americans and the British literally fired missiles into Russia proper, and so this is responsible. However, since then, there's some great announcement that we're from our friend Scott Reeder, who knows about what the system probably better than anybody. But I just wanted to pick up on something that he mentioned from the headline before they altered it, which is they fire ICBM to Ukraine for the first time, Kiev confirms. That's a key phrase, I think, because what else does Kiev confirm? Well, they confirm that there are North Korean troops fighting in Kursk and in Russia against Ukraine.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With us today, we have Chris Rossini, co-host. Chris, welcome to the program.
Great to be with you, Dr. Paul.
Very good. You know, we will talk today principally about how to deal with expelling a few illegals. You know, the American people are really rising up against this, especially when they see how many illegals are committing crimes in this country. That is a big problem. So we're going to deal with that a little bit. But before that, I want to mention a little bit about the marketplaces. You know, Macy's talked about something called a crack-up boom. I don't think we're on the verge, because the crack-up boom is sort of like what Venezuela had, and then the Bali. But it's really bad when everything goes crazy, and everybody has to get rid of the money, and it's a very messy thing. You call it a crack-up boom. And today, though, and this last week, you know, I wonder if it's a perp chain. Because stocks are doing pretty good. But everybody justifies it. Oh, no, it's just a Trump's in there. He's going to correct everything. So there's no bubble in the stock market. And then they say, well, I guess it's, you know, crypto. Crypto, that's really sorry. Yeah, but that's a time, you know, that's an item that's not as common. This is just natural, and it's just going to go forever. And then there's gold, too. Gold goes around almost forever. And gold is doing very well, too. So it is difficult. I think it's hard to invest under these conditions. And people try hard, and there's different ways of protecting against this. But there's no perfect way, because man is imperfect, and government meddles too much in the affairs of individuals, and that makes it a little bit harder. The one thing we do is we partner with Birch Gold Group, because they have ideas which have been around for a long time that people should own actual gold. And their proposal is that if you have stocks, you can convert them if they're before that your IRA account or whatever. They'll help you transfer that into a gold IRA, so you're protected by bullion. And it's something that makes sense, because right now if you have an IRA, you can't put gold bullion in there. So that is the reason that they have a special method of doing it. So if you're interested in that, if you don't have all the information on it, what you can do is you can text 1 at 989898, and that will connect you with somebody at Birch Gold who can send you a free kit to help you understand this issue. So you want some of that information, no charge. It helps you convert stocks into gold bullion. You can text 1 at 989898, and you will get some material to help you, and it will not be a charge. And I think that's important, at least to know about it, and try to figure out what is best for you. Chris, you have an announcement up today about some other advantages of visiting at Birch.
Yes, as we've been mentioning this month, they are running a special event for every $5 that you invest in any of their products. You will get a free silver eagle coin. They're beautiful coins, so that's a nice little incentive. So again, text 1 to 989898, and that'll connect you with Birch Gold. Getting into our topic for today, Dr. You mentioned this government-created problem that we have a very bad habit in this country from both sides of the aisle of government-created problems, and then their solution is just to pile on more illegal problems. And the magic word that is always used is national emergency. Once those words are spoken, all the bad guys, their ears perk up, because that is when they capitalize. And that's how we repeatedly end up with less freedom and more overwhelming government power. We can think back to the reaction of 9/11. That was more of a right-wing reaction, and that saddled us with the Patriot Act, getting groped at the airports until today still, the surveillance state, and there was a lot of right-wing cheerleaders that were on us on, and it's still biting us. All these years later, all these decades later, still biting us. COVID, same thing. National emergency. This was more of a left-wing thing. And again, emergency authorization. Look what was done under emergency authorization. People taking jabs that did not work, and the people had immunity. The people doing it to us had immunity, legal immunity. So this is how national emergency is always exploited from both sides. They both cheer it on, and it is our lives, our liberties, and our pursuit of happiness that gets destroyed. And we are on the cusp of once again doing this with a government-created problem. They let all these illegals in. Well, deporting illegals is perfectly fine. It's legal, but they want to put, or there's calls for putting military troops in our streets, and that is a very bad idea, Dr. Paul.
You know, you mentioned something that is characteristic of what our government has frequently done: scare the people, and somebody's going to attack you, and then the people generally will respond because the government's telling you you better be scared, and they do that. Then they came in and asked the government, well, you got to protect me, you got to take care of me. Then they allow the government to do things that they otherwise wouldn't happen. But you know, this immigration thing has just totally gone out of hand. It was bad policy that created this, and the policy is just now fading away, and people are starting to recognize it with the election of Trump, because that was a big issue. So you would say, well, people are waking up and they realize that they went too far. But there's now a bigger problem, or at least a huge problem, and that is what do you do with the results of this policy that was followed with the past administration that permitted, not only permitted, mass immigration, but encouraged it. It didn't care whether they were criminals or not. So it's a real mess. Because I think America has tremendous record on how well we have treated immigrants. Because you talk to somebody and say, oh yeah, two generations ago, and probably the large majority of Americans had people immigrate here over the centuries. So this is a big problem on what to do. How do we take care of the illegals? And I think that what has happened, this thing has been collective, and people had other motives for getting more people, into the country. Sometimes people just want more cheap labor. Get it behind it, let them come. And sometimes they are doing this. We offer them a lot of welfare. We can get a lot more votes. But some of those things that they were arguing, the opposition certainly didn't help the election by having a lot of people running around here that they thought was going to vote for more welfare, because it just wasn't in the cards for that. So it's something that a lot of people got behind. It was built up, unjustified fear, and then there were benefits occurring by some, and then there was the black market of how people into this country, and it was sort of like the drug trade shifted over to the helping illegal immigrants who had a criminal record, and so it was a big business there too, and that has led to this problem. I think one of the basic problems they can come in, and that work much better. When you just turn them loose, and then you subsidize, you steal the money from the people here trying to make a living, and you cause all kinds of disaster for the people who are still working here until they finally go broke or contribute to the bankruptcy that's going on. Then that just leads to more harm, because now there's a lot of friction, and now they're suggesting that's a big job. How many are there? $1 million? 10 million? Who knows what? Boy, we need help. And of course, the hint is, and the administration is to be, is talking about, we need the military to round up these people. It is serious, but it's not that serious. But what happens under those conditions, we'll fight the military to round up the illegals. Where are they going to find them? This time they're all over the place, and they're hiding in the nooks and crannies. They're going to invade our cities, and it'll be martial law in essence for them. So it's not legal to use the military. The Constitution doesn't give the government the authority to be the policeman of all the United States, and it doesn't. It's certainly not legal and acceptable under Posse Comitatus, because that is a danger, and what it can translate into later. Because if it doesn't go well, there will be another reaction. And that is what people ought to be very careful about before they say, "Good, get the army in here. They'll clean up this mess in a month." It's not going to happen. We better stick to some rules that protects the liberty, and accept the fact that if you want to look for a guilty party, maybe it's the people who purposely orchestrated it and purposely financed it and subsidized it and opened up the gates. They're the people who are really guilty. The American people are sort of guilty because they didn't say move. But now we have the problem. This problem's not going to go away. So hopefully we can have people of wisdom to realize that it's not going to be easily solved by just turning the total military loose in the entire United States, including the illegal aliens.
That's right, Dr. Paul. And such a abuse of power will be abused too. Once you put troops in the streets, they're there. Well, let's use them to do something else. They're originally there for illegals. They're there. Let's use them for something else. And that's not to say that that's what Trump wants or anybody wants. But you have to understand, Trump is not the government. It was Fauci Trump. Fauci did all of this damage in Trump's government. That's the government is a lot bigger. Even if Trump had the purest heart in the world, this is power that we're dealing with, and people that exploit power. This is what they do always, even with the Trump administration, which was done under his first administration too. So the power will be expanded, and a precedent will be set. We do not live in a dynastic monarchy where if the king dies, the son takes over. Everybody they try to preserve the realm for their family. This is not what we live in. We live in when once Trump goes, a far left president can come in, and now the precedent has been set. Trump put troops in the streets. I will put troops in the streets, and for whatever far left idea they have, they want to take our guns. We know that. They keep telling us that, and they will not care about legality, because if it's illegal now, what difference will it make for a far left president legally later? So there is so much trouble that could come from just abusing the law, but people's emotions are so high, just like it was in 9/11, and they're willing to throw away their common sense just to get what they want in the immediate moment without thinking things through, and especially when you're dealing with power, because power will destroy you. And look at where we are today in this situation. It's because of the constant encroachment of power.
The first thing that has to be done, and I'm sure Trump is aware of this, you have to just stop the inflow. And even as we sit here and talk about this, they're actually lining up in larger amounts trying to get in, before Trump's president. So the inflow hasn't stopped, but that has to happen. The inflow has to be, more controlled. And I think you can do that with in the law and protecting civil liberties and taking care of it in an orderly fashion. And that has been done for hundreds of years in this country in a satisfactory manner. But in trying to get rid of the people who are really causing the trouble, if you start with the people who are breaking the law, and you hear all these horrible stories about people who an immigrant has been arrested 4 or 5 times, then they go out and kill somebody or steal something. That is so bad. They just back in the day get here illegally and then start to commit violent crimes. There should be no hesitation at all, and it can be done without the military doing this, because even our borders in more orderly times, the border is protected by non-military people, and that's the way it should be, because we don't want to live in a military society where the military is marching up to us, and that's a police state that uses the military in this manner. So that's why we urge that it's done very cautiously and wisely, stop the influx, and then anybody committing criminality, violent crime should be removed from our society rather quickly. So but if you say round them up, they're all criminals, they came in here illegally, well, there might be a comparison. There may well be a difference in those who are robbing and killing and shooting and have been arrested 3 times, and you're still saying, oh, well, we'll have to think about this. Maybe if we send them to another state that are friendlier, and they will be more tolerant of people coming into our country. So no, the rules can be very precise, and they weren't precise for this last 4 years, and it's created a monster, and it's a real challenge to take care of this without violating anybody's civil liberties. Chris?
Sorry, Dr. Paul, I will finish with my closing thought. It shouldn't be this way, but it is. There are interests above that are either left or right, they really don't care. To them, we'll use the left here and we'll use the right here to get what our ends are. People call them deep state, globalists, cabal, whatever you want to call them. This is an existence of people that see the right and see the left as tools for themselves. They have no moral qualms. They don't really care about either one. They care about what they want, and they'll use the passions of both sides for their ends. And this is how it is. And I don't mean to repeat myself, but 9/11 was a great example. The passions were used to go into Iraq, which had nothing to do with 9/11, which didn't have weapons of mass destruction. Trillions are gone. And then later on, years later, you hear from the right, Ron Paul was right, we should have, but not back then. Ron Paul's pro-Saddam back then, and all the other nonsense, when passions are high. Same thing with the left. Apparently, they tell us they hate big corporations. During COVID, who cleaned up? Big pharma cleaned up, big retail cleaned up. All the small businesses got closed. You go into Walmart and shop with thousands of people because there's a disease, so you go with all the people. You close your little pizza shop, and people went bankrupt. Tens of thousands. And the same thing that they did to kids. The left is, they always tell us about the kids. My goodness, what they did to the kids over COVID. So, but this is all manipulation. They'll get you to go against what you say you believe in. And that's why we have to be so vigilant with being principled. Don't give up your principles just to get a cheap win, because it's going to hurt you in the end, both sides. We all lost our liberty, left and right. So we must be vigilant to prevent, a continuation of this.
Very good. I don't think many people could argue and take a look at what's been happening, especially in these last 3 or 4 years, and say that we have a system of immigration that has created chaos, hasn't created fairness or decency or whatever. It has subsidized a lot of people who shouldn't have come here because they were already criminals, and it also penalizes criminalizes some people who are totally innocent, because the people who try to avoid the problem and try to be tolerant and help the people that are coming in, they pay the price. What about the hospitals and schools and the communities that have been overrun by illegal immigrants coming in, and the people who stayed here and tried to keep things together? They're the victims because they have to pay for it. So I think somewhere along the way, the whole principle of private property gets lost in this jumbo. Because they're saying that this is too big, and we have to have international help, and we have to have the army doing this, and we need to be tolerant. Everybody's a lot of common. We should not be this, intolerant to people who need to come into our country. But the one thing that I do from my own understanding is I compare somebody's home to the country. So how do we treat a person's home? Still, in spite of all the mess we have in Washington, even though we even have federal regulations in Washington about our own property and all, but basically, people in this country still recognize the principle of your home. Your home is very, very special. And if you have a home, and all of a sudden the sheriff shows up, and he said, well, we've had a couple of individuals who floated into town. They've been a problem. They don't have a place to stay. So we have selected your house to put this family in, and they have 5 kids, and we want you to find them a place to sleep, and you have to feed them. You only have to do it for a month or two, but then they'll get a job, and everything will be okay. So most people say, get out of the way. We can't do it. We can't even feed ourselves. And you want us to accept those people into our home. And a lot of people do that when it's voluntary. A lot of churches help, and it's very beneficial. It has to be voluntary. But when the government comes, it does this. But that's what they do when they open up the barriers. These people are brought in, and then the expense is delivered to the people who are living here, and they then say, we have to get rid of them. Well, people know you have to get rid of them. The people who are soft are dealing with illegal individuals who commit violent crimes. Well, they have to realize that that'll create economic chaos and mess. And then what's the next step? Bring in the army, and who knows what will happen. But it's a private property concept. But the government can't put the family in there and force you to take care of them. Even though in the voluntary system, a lot of people do that. But no, if they do that, that's a leads to a problem, and people finally resent it. Send another 10 people into my house. But when it's collective, you say, well, we'll send it to Texas, we'll send it to California, we'll do this, and we just let the border states deal with it. Because who owns the place today? And it's always the government agency, the cities, the county, and state, and they have to take care of them according to their own rules. And that to me is subsidizing something that is very bad and a violation of other people's liberties. So once you subsidize that, and there's a benefit from it, guess what? They line up by the millions getting in. They're trying to get a piece of the action. And that's why we have to have a better concept of private property. And just because the government becomes one group of people that claim they're going to protect us, we shouldn't let them control the day so they can send them into our house, which is our country, and let them do whatever they want, and not have penalties for breaking the law. And that to me is foolhardy, and we're seeing the consequences. But guess what? The American people are waking up as they usually do. So it's sort of like we're fighting a war on illegal immigration right now, and the consequence of it. Other wars, the real wars, they're starting for all kinds of reasons. It's real hard to stop them. So this is hard to correct and take care of it. And there should be, compassion. We should be using the volunteer approach. It should be permitted to do it. But it should have the protection of the pretense that the government will make it somewhat safer. And maybe somebody who's been out there shooting and are known to be killers and thieves and monsters, there's no reason for them to get special privilege and get their liberty from the liberty of the people who are trying to survive. I believe that the answer is more complex if we follow it in a slightly different way, but it would have been much better. Just as I always argue about the wars, prevent the wars, because ending the wars happens. Thousands have died in the wars lasting 20 years. It's a big job. So this should have stopped a long time ago. It was the carelessness of the people accepting this and being convinced that if I don't say something, then I'm not